Here we go. Well, welcome everybody to the August 7th, 2023 class board meeting. And we have most everyone present. We have our, call it ex-treasurer that wasn't able to make it. And one of our our board member, Katie Everett, is unable to attend as well. So anyone have any housekeeping business they want to bring up before we kind of get started? It is a rather short agenda. We're not going to be here very long. It's kind of middle of summer. We'll highlight a few things that have happened, but is there anything that anyone would like to announce or bring to the attention of the board prior to getting into the agenda?
I just, I know I've brought here a couple times that we were working on a Somali Healthy Aging mini conference, and that is not happening. We have had more trouble than any of us expected connecting with folks in the Somali community, which is focused in Minneapolis. And there are lots of Somali folks in St. Paul, but the focus, the center of the Somali community is Minneapolis. So we are going to be working on an Oromo one because the Oromo community is centered in St. Paul. But we don't, the events take about 5-6 months to plan. So we're looking at next spring probably. So
Thanks.
And then Julie, you sent an email out to everyone this morning, a little bit about with commissioners, county commissioners.
yes,
And
thank
the
you.
proclamation or declaration.
Yeah, so I've finally managed to, anyway, lots of barriers. I'm not going to go into that. Finally managed to get the board to say that they will proclaim September Healthy Aging Month, which brings attention. It seems to not do anything, but it brings attention to healthy aging. And so I picked September 5th. If anyone wants to come, it would just be sitting in the seats and being supportive. It's 9 o'clock on Tuesday, September 5th. The meeting starts exactly at 9, so you should get there at 8:45 at the latest in the courthouse in downtown St. Paul. So if you want more information, give me a buzz. I can send you a copy if you want. So.
Is there a room number? I forgot if that was listed on there or anything.
It's not listed. I believe it's the second floor, but when we get closer, I will send that out.
Beautiful. Anybody else with a quick update of anything?
Yes, our Lionel Lang Bloomston second campus is open and new folks are coming in, and they're going to do a professional open house just for those of us professionals that work in the field of aging or are connected somehow, want to be in the know about what's all happening over there. And that has been set for September 14th from 3 to 5. Would love to see you, Allie, and all the people that I think are sort of already housed up there, obviously, but anyone, it will be open. What I wanted to do is include it in the class. I was asked by our director to put it in the upcoming class newsletter. And will that go out like the first week of September or the last week of August? What is that usually, Kate?
Kate, do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, if I just get you the details, you would be able to include it in the next, so that people would know about it before like September 14th is the goal.
Yeah,
Yes.
send them to Katie.
Okay.
If you want me to include it in my August newsletter, shoot it to me. My August newsletter will go out. I'm sorry, my September newsletter.
Yeah,
yes, will go out at the end of August. So if you want me to include it before then, shoot it to me and I'll include it in one of my weekly emails.
Perfect.
So, Lynn, kind of same thing. I think what Katie's been doing is sending out a reminder to people at the end of the month if they hadn't done anything. And we built the template, and so Katie's been sending that stuff.
All right, I will get it to her. And
if
I
you
think-
shoot it to me, whatever, if it's like a poster, I can throw it, I can approve it and throw it up on our community board.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody.
You bet. Well, let's move forward here. As co-president Scott Olson, the statement we made a week or so ago is the state of the union is we're strong. We got lots of stuff going on that, well, actually some events that have taken place and just the way that we're moving in a good direction and having some people that are talking about getting together for, whatever the future might bring has been positive. And we've had great feedback from people that have attended our networking event that are glad that class is still strong and vibrant. We had some new faces at that live event, which was really fun. It was a very nice setting, and big thanks to Katie Everett for kind of getting that put into motion there. So we had what would you say, John? We have close to 20, maybe low 20s in attendance of people that have came and went. And then Allie had a great exercise that she put together that I think is worthy of reporting on. Or wait, am I stealing some thunder here? Is this going to be talked about later, Kate? Do you remember? I don't think so, but I'm going to hand it over to Katie to Allie for just a moment. The questions that you had put together, the topics that we had, was that you and Katie that put them together for the networking event?
That would be all Katie. That would not be me.
That was all Katie. Okay.
I was in the
Actually-
mix of too much drama over here and I
Oh,
didn't take
yeah.
part in it.
I
Sorry.
actually wrote the questions and sent them over to Katie to print.
Good
Okay.
job, Kate.
Well, there were different questions at each of 4 or 5 tables, and it was wonderful. We all had a great discussion, and we were able to have this event not only live, but we had all of it was outside. The weather held up nicely. So good discussions. People were able to share a lot of what was going on in their lives, their professional lives, anything personal. There was just a nice segment for that. And I think, John, so I don't speak out of turn, did we get kind of a consensus of those that were there that there was still an interest to move forward if all the conditions were ripe for us to have another live event sometime soon?
Yes, and that is something that we had wanted to touch base with all y'all. And many of you all were able to make it. I think everyone who's here was able to make it face to face. We have so our remaining 2023 network meetings are September 13th and November 8th. November 8th might be a wee bit chilly, but September 13th, we were bouncing around. We could probably still do that outside. And I thought, Scott, we were just going to poll this crazy crew and see what folks thought. Should we have the September 13th networking outside?
Well, even if it's not outside, at a place where it could be live, just together in person. So show of hands. Yay.
Face to face?
I think in person is great. I wouldn't be able to be there, but I think it's great.
Would you be able to if it was via Zoom?
That day, no, I just have something else going on that day in general.
Chris and Kate? Yes.
It should be,
Well,
okay.
this is what a board is for, to make decisions, and I don't know as if we have to go out and have a big poll of all of our different members on this. I think the board can
Yeah.
decide, do we want to go with this?
I'm sorry, Chris, were you saying something?
Zoom is always preferred because I have such a long ways to go, so.
Got it.
I
Well,
think-
we're definitely looking at keeping the lunch and learns, both for the time and well, the lunch and learns we had thought to continue on Zoom. But the September networking is probably our best, outside or not, face-to-face opportunity.
Well, with that said, did anyone have questions about any of the things that have gone on or are looking to go on as we maybe move on to the next topic here? I guess if it comes up in your mind a little bit later, feel free to bring it up. This is pretty informal here. So, John, you want to report on Lunch and Learn then? We'll move on.
Sure. Well, folks that were able to make it to Vadnais Heights, were able to meet Jarell Waldorf, who reached out to us. She's the stroke program coordinator at United Hospital. And she and Jody Peterson, who is her rehabilitation services supervisor at the hospital, are going to be doing our August 16th Lunch and Learn, which is coming right up, to talk about stroke and post-stroke care. Jarell's going to be covering the signs and symptoms. Jody's going to kind of cover the role that rehab plays, and what post-stroke rehab therapy entails. So this is leaning, pretty heavy into the folks that have, day-to-day seniors and perhaps in housing
I
or
understand.
other areas where you're down close and personal. And so we're looking at that. The last one was the kind of state politics are happening, and that was April. And then the next one is going to be on October 18th. Chris Sundberg and I have been talking about trying to get the new members of the state, the White Bear Lake, St. Paul. I'm in St. Paul. Y'all are not in St. Paul. The White Bear Lake legislative delegation to come for kind of a Q&A info session on aging. So that's what we got for lunches and learns. So currently both planned to be Zoom meetings.
Very good. Let's talk a little more. Does anyone have any updates as to anyone that they may have spoken to about interest in class, being a board member, serving a position? We need to ask this each time because, again, we still have a position that is left unfilled. And as we get farther into this year, we will have positions that will go vacant come next year. So it's time to start this process of thinking and talking and sharing with our cohorts in crime out there to find if there's interest. Anybody have any input or updates as to maybe who they've spoken with in the last month or two?
Have we had anybody from AARP lately?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Who ended up with the roster from the event at Vadnais Heights? Oh, good. Is there anybody on there that is new that we would want to follow? Yeah, I think we should kind of, if we can divide that up, I mean, or if anybody was already naturally going to be talking to someone. I know there was a woman that came. I don't have her name. She does consulting work. I feel like she just joined.
Kathy Kuhn, she was a life
Yes.
coach. We had
That's
talked
who
with
I
her.
thought
That's the one. So I am going to meet with her, and I'd be willing to talk to her about the board.
And we brought it up when she was there also.
Right. It's the one-on-one always seems to.
Yeah, and the same thing with Mariette Hoffler, who's with Hospice of the Midwest. I chatted with her a little bit
Yeah.
as well. So,
She's come a couple of times now this year.
yeah, she wasn't opposed, but she wanted to think about it a little bit.
Right. So are we feeling like in 2024, because this is what we're going to get asked, that we would potentially look similar in that we'd have 4 lunch and learns all virtually, and then is it 6 networking or is it okay? So 6 networking every other, right? I thought it was only 4, but maybe I'm wrong. If somebody could just give us that, like, is that what it is? Is it 4 and 4 or is it 6?
It's 4 and 6.
4 and 6.
Six,
Okay.
4. board meetings, 6 networking, 4 lunch. and learn.
Okay. And then how often are we thinking the board is going to meet? Because that is always the question that individuals coming on the board want to.
6 board meeting,
Six
6
board.
board meetings. Yep.
Okay. And we're thinking that'll look similar in 2024. We're not looking at, I mean, I guess this is the question. We're not looking at shifting or doing any, it's working. We like this. This is volume wise. This is the space we're in for the time being. Okay.
Well,
I think, and I think the fact that we're getting some people who may, such as Chris here, who has to travel a little bit to continue to keep this
The board meeting.
line type of meeting rather than live. This
Okay.
works better for more people. And I think,
Well,
when you say this, I don't know if it's true or not, but it may help us attract more people if we keep it this way also.
So that's what I wanted to hear, because even me on Mondays, I have meetings on both ends that back up to this. So if it became in person, I wouldn't be in. So that's what, yeah. Okay. So we're thinking that the lunch and learn and the board meetings would stay virtual. Networking would be potential for at least seasonally in person or whatever. We're not sure yet.
Yeah,
well, I totally agree that the ease of these meetings is a thing, but I also want to put down the importance for face-to-face to get people to this point. And that's what I'm feeling in my community organizing and for class. That we do need to have some community-based things, and where we can, take Ally off to the side and in hushed whispers talk about what's been happening there, or take Kate off to the side and tell her that she needs to go to bed because she's so tired right now.
Well, that's what this little chat box is for over here.
It's good, but
I know, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Well, and
Um,
John, I think to kind of bring that around, I really liked what we did, even though we didn't have as much of a turnout, of the Olive Garden kind of at the beginning of the year, a first introduction that's separate from the meetings, that we say, okay, this is a social space gathering where it's maybe outside of business hours that require people to be at certain places.
mhm.
We can have it as a gathering
Mhm.
opportunity. So that way, when we need to be able to meet during business hours, people are better able to attend. I don't know if that's an option, but I really liked how we did that this year.
And what I was gonna say to Lynn's, are we just doing the same this year? I would say, hey, can we think about doing 2 public events that are face-to-face, that are probably, they could be just extension of our lunch and learns. They could be, if anybody's, I think of Julia and the county having, occasionally really big things that, either we want to take part in as well. So I would urge folks, think about a little bit more out in community that we're doing education or other events, and aiming for a hybrid kind of, or overall hybrid, some virtual and some face-to-face.
So what might draw, this is where I'm seeing, we're looking to draw, because we are going to have 6 networking. That's the higher volume. Within those 6, my proposal would be maybe 2 of them were also had some kind of educational component or something for professionals that would be a need to be in person. And it might not even be educational. Maybe it's, one of us is going to talk to the group, and we've got some expertise that as a professional, like we had started to do, more than just the questions, but an actual draw to come and talk about like a hot topic, or a professional topic, or whatever that looks like. Maybe less educational and more what's the word? Consensus building, or, just some of those spaces that maybe we're going to do brainstorming together because we want to, I know the work that Sarah and I and Chris were doing, that could turn into kind of a networking class member brainstorming piece versus just have it be full networking the whole time. So that's like we'd have FaceTime. So I hear what you're saying, John. There'd be FaceTime, that
Mhm.
synergy of being in the room together, that synergy of, you know, coming and going and representing our organizations in a community location could be more intentional. I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think
I
that's
want to jump, sorry.
well, no, I think it's missing. You know, I think that we're doing what we're doing really well, but if we want to move towards like having a larger, you know, continually to have people, we need to meet people in different forums. We need to be out in the community a little bit. Yeah. Go ahead.
So,
Is it- Oh,
these
go
are
ahead,
just
Julia.
my 2 cents, as a friend of mine says, free advice worth what you paid for it. When I brought together the Healthy Aging Network, initially I thought, well, you know, maybe people need something to focus on. We can do a project, and everyone said, no, we want to network.
Yeah.
So the first part of that networking like nobody wants to work at a networking meeting. So the first part of that meeting is like the lunch and learns that you
Yep.
all hold, which is the first part is education from someone in the community, and then the next part is networking.
Yeah. I
Julia,
think
that is what we're doing as well. We're inviting a speaker to come in for the first 10 minutes of the networking meetings.
Got it.
yeah, I
But-
feel like we're already doing that. So it's the same concept, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. But Lynn, I think you were suggesting that if we do 2 other bigger community
Mhm.
things, that we might bulk out our networking meetings, maybe to do
Yeah, I
that.
don't like the idea of adding more meetings. I guess that's all I'm saying. I think we've got a good draw with those networking meetings, and I want to honor what Julia is saying that, yeah, we are coming to network. But what ends up happening, the more you're spending, you know, routine time together, now we've hit this place I can see it's almost where, not quite, almost to where we were before COVID, where now the relationships have been reestablished, and now we're feeling like, okay, we've got some community voice going here. We've got some common things that we're touch pointing on every time we're together. So that's sort of what I was trying to read the room with that. You know, like now it's like, okay, well, we've talked about a couple things. Well, how do we, that's the point of class, is to, you know, the point, that is a point of that we were collectively all a voice for these, you know, this demographic. And there's some things that are starting to bubble up, I guess, and start to become, you know, where we could maybe move it to that next, like, because we just haven't had that capacity, because we haven't been, you know, connected in community to each other the same way. So I'm thinking we're getting there. It feels like it's going to happen soon, and that's all I was thinking is for 2024. I think we might want to be proactive and just think about maybe how we would facilitate that so that it actually comes to fruition. I know that the work that Chris and Sarah and I had just started to tap on, you know, revising some of the things that had been written over the years, and some of the when they're not goals, but the actual like advocacy statements and such. We need to sort of bring that to life, right? Like we need to come to our members, and that's what I was thinking of, those kind of things. Like how do we move? There's people that don't even know that exist, and you know, if you people have a voice in it, then versus just an email, like an actual, hey, part of our networking today is we're gonna, you know, it would be a little facilitated, but not the whole thing, just a couple minutes or something. It feels like we'd be able to, like, that's how you get buy-in too from members. Like people like, oh, they want to hear my voice. Like that's why I'm here. Like I've got a group of people back at my job that I represent, and I can bring that to this group of people who will understand and collectively think about what that means. I don't know if I'm talking out of turn. Does that make sense, Chris and Sarah? Like I think we got to a point where we're like, well, this is just the 3 of us. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's, go ahead, Chris.
we should probably bring it back to the full board too.
Yeah. So if we do that in the fall, and then maybe in the new year have some actual member input. Yeah. Anyways.
Does anyone feel strongly either way? If we came up with something that was live, or not only live, but topical on a networking meeting, that we really strive to get our county commissioners there and involved? Isn't with what we do with class.
Involved in what though? What do we think?
not present with what we've been doing here. That's not to say that they're not involved in reading what goes out, but I just haven't seen one at any of our recent events, and I think it would be good for them to hear that class is still vibrant and wishes to work with professionals within the community. And what can we get for their support with this? So is that the kind of thing that would be an idea to circle the wagons to get more of the county commissioner or commissioners involved with what you're talking about, Lynn, at an event?
Maybe. I know last year Victoria came to our fall networking.
Yep.
She's come at least once a year all during COVID.
Right.
And given us updates. Is that the right timing, Julia, to have her come in I feel like then she's sort of, then she usually brings up what's, obviously that's a county. There's other counties represented in mostly Ramsey, but yeah. Are we talking about something a little more formal though? Because when we do that at a networking, then she takes the floor, which I think is valuable, but then other people end up not having a chance to talk. I think that gets
but I think that's what you were talking about, Lynn. You were looking to have one or two of these networking meetings where there was something topical.
Yeah.
That being what the commissioners may wish to talk about.
Yeah, I think it draws people, then people, especially because we've had it before organically, then we can almost, I wonder if Victoria wouldn't even commit to say, I'm going to come every, September or something. I feel like she would. Like, I think that she still gets, Julie, what does she still gets, she says she was getting our minutes and she was, popping in when she could and all the things. But I mean, I wonder if we shouldn't, what's your sense of that, Julia?
So I don't know the fluctuation or the way that the time that things go and come and all that. What I can tell you is there must be a specific ask.
Yes.
That is, the county commissioners are not interested in come and talk.
Right.
Despite the fact that Victoria is very good at talking.
I know.
So that's just something when we were talking about taking the age-friendly process to the county board of commissioners to get them to sign off and say, yes, you can join the network to start doing the work. I was told very clearly, they don't want to know this is happening. They want to know what the action plan is.
Okay.
So that's just something to keep in mind. I think your, class is a different beast than the age-friendly committee. So it's just for what it's worth.
That's helpful.
Micah has a legislative breakfast that used to be everybody actually in a building, and focused for Micah. A lot of it is state legislative. But what we've been doing since is a virtual breakfast, and it for us, it definitely county. So the Micah Northeast chapter includes people from Centerville to Stillwater, and so looking at everybody's involved in the state legislative stuff. And then there's county level things that may or may not be going on. And depending on what's happening in a city, all three of those are kind of possible levels of interest. I am wondering if, since we've been talking about trying to get the two state legislators to the the October Lunch and Learn, that we could try a legislative luncheon that tries to get state and county officials. I know that I do a bunch of work with the Ramsey County Board because St. Paul too. Mai Chong Zhang is south of Victoria in terms of her coverage area, so she is one of the two next closest, and Nicole Fretham is Centerville and areas a little to the west of that. And so those three, I think, are a relatively easy-ish sell to say, hey, we're East Metro and we're interested in this kind of stuff. And so I think that there is totally the potential for, and also, you know, getting, and one of the other things that our legislative breakfast, and we also do a virtual, but well, a bus tour that was real and it's now virtual, is to also try and get city staff just around to get information out. And so it's, I know that we have talked about, okay, do we have our specific class-based legislative agenda? Maybe not directly. Are we generally all in favor of increased funding for senior transport, senior housing, and senior services? Yes. Are we a group that wants decision makers to know that we're watching and that we want to build relationships with them? Yes. So I think that could be, I mean, if we did, you know, 2 bigger events in 2024, one of them could be based on getting some of those elected.
Yeah, let's see where the fall lunch and learn ends up. That I like your thinking on that one. That's actually what I was thinking, and see where that could be built. See if that, because I know I went to one of the lunch and learns last fall, and I was like, oh, this feels like it could be, like that's where things start to grow, right? Where you see your audience and you think, okay, these are people that want to take this to this next level. And so, are you working on the fall, John? Who else is working with you for the educational, getting those speakers?
I believe, Chris,
Chris.
is it you and me?
What's that?
The fall lunch and learn where we're trying to get Heather and the former cop, new state legislator.
Oh, super.
I have a meeting with Heather next week or the week after. I'm not remembering. So,
Okay.
do we have the date for the lunch and learn?
Yep, October 18th.
Okay.
So I can reach out to Breon if you've got Heather.
So let's see where that goes, and then let's think when we're doing 2024 planning that there probably is going to be, based on what you two experience, you guys will be the intel that, you know, our people, where are we feeling like we could go with this? Is this something, could we grow our voice, I guess, is all I'm thinking on that front. Maybe not. I don't know. It's sort of dependent on how we get received. I'm glad we're inviting them though, because it's always better if they already know the organization, right? To say, hey, we just had these 2 people here and we're going to continue expanding and educating and informing those of us that work in the field, and then how that could serve them in their work. Because really what I hear from decision makers, they don't always have the full picture. They don't always have the relationships built except for what comes across their desk. And if they have touch points developed with an organization like ours, that's really going to be a much better representation of, you know, what happenstances across their desk.
And you're a constituent. I mean, that's
Yeah, thank you. That's the reality. Okay. So that's helpful. Yeah, I feel like I can enter some recruitment mode. So thank you for that conversation. I just think you're right, Scott. I mean, I've been on that committee almost every year where we try to get new people in. And then these are the questions we always get. Well, how many meetings? How many meetings? How many meetings? So this is helpful. Thank you.
Do you all have a description to recruit people?
We have a description for every position.
Yeah,
what I can do, I just wrote, even though it's the Mayor's Advisory Council on Aging and not the county, I just wrote up a summary of that. And I can send that to you to see if that process, that format is helpful. I'll send
it would be, it would be really nice. I can't remember, maybe we even have this, Kate, already, something on our website that I know we have descriptions, but actually like board, like a general, is that what you're saying, Julie? Like a general, like
described the advisory council. It said it meets once a month. All right, I'll send it to Scott for distribution.
Yep, we had that all previous. I mean, it may
That's
not
what I
be
thought.
revisited, but we've had a description of all those groups and what they involve and and the roles of the people.
Well, I know I sent it out when we were recruiting the last couple of years, so it must exist. I just don't know where it's actually, I don't know if it's actually
Where it
public.
lives.
Yeah, where it lives.
And I would say, I want to interject here and say that I think what's even more important than bringing a board member on is bringing new members aboard, because new
Yeah.
members become board members.
That's right.
When you try to get somebody coming aboard for the first time to be a board member, those are tough asks.
Yeah, they don't even
Come
have a contact, much
Start
contact.
networking, come experience a few other things, and then that ask for a board member becomes easier, in my opinion.
I love that we always talk about this in August, and then it leaves us with the whole fall to invite them to one of the meetings. We can even invite them to a board. We've done that where we've invited people to board meetings. Just come and meet us, and that's okay too if we know they're coming and we have a plan. Because I always feel like that more that they're sensing what's happening versus okay, I signed up and now I don't have any context. Because so that they can come to a lunch and learn in the next 2 months and a networking meeting, then they may be more willing come December to say, yeah, sign me up.
Good. All right, well, let's keep moving on here. That's good input, good discussion. I think every time we have a board meeting, this should be brought up because we should always be recruiting, always be recruiting. Regarding the treasurer report, Michelle Hubbard has been kind enough to at least supply the banking statements and putting them on the executive email or Gmail there. So you've got access, board, to get to them if you'd like to look at them. She didn't send one to my attention in time for this meeting. But the July statement is probably due up pretty quick here. We'll have 2 of the checks that came from our grants that will be getting deposited. That's been remiss about getting them picked up from Katie. But we still have money in the account, so it's not like we're shorting right now. So that will get done. Anything financially that anyone has? Kate, you're up.
In terms of financially, nope. Thankfully, my move prevented class from having to pay any expenses to my freelancing stuff. So yay. In terms of board meeting minutes, the only one that's not currently posted is our last meeting, simply because when it was recorded locally. So we don't have a recording to be able to put up on the website. Other than that, now that we have the recordings kind of back up and running, in the cloud, I'll be able to add those very quickly and easily to the website. And just with how we've done this process, and how we've grown, I think it's really helped to cut back on the expenses and to bring me in when it's necessary, as opposed to having to create a lot of work that is costly to class. And Katie does a great job with our free MailChimp account of getting the newsletters out. We were able to get that set up and templates all grown. So my only thought would be, if the board wants to just take a peek at the website and see if there's any information that should be refreshed or looked at as we go into the new year, just to make sure that we are still having the same messaging that we want out there in the community. I think that's all that we really need to be looking at.
And I think what we've been doing also when, and Kate, I don't want to steal any of your thunder here, but when the executive team is met on Fridays, we have gone through a lot of our database and eliminated some of those names of past, whether it's members or past just attendees that we're getting bounce backs from in those emails. We're just trying to keep that list current. And if anyone, Kate, can you share with the team where they could locate that in the?
Yes, so when we've been getting bounce back emails, they usually show up in our Gmail account as we've sent off a message, and it comes back as this is undeliverable. This person is no longer there, or they have an automated message. For example, we have one from Jennifer Baker who is no longer with her business. And so we go through then in the Google contact section and find that individual, and we can either remove them from the mailing list, or if it's someone who we still want in the network, but they don't want to be a part, for example, a board member, everybody is under grouped labels, including class networking, class board, and so forth. And so we can remove that label so that they are still part of our community, but that allows us to keep things cleaner when we're sending out emails and updates. So if for some reason there's a name that's included and they've said, please remove me, and it doesn't happen immediately, it's usually because we're in a cycle of doing a cleanup and editing stuff.
Mm.
And all of our reminder emails, these are reminder emails, not newsletter emails, are preset in the Google Mail account. So this is something that Katie and I set up previously that is automatically set up to go out based on a time schedule. MailChimp does not have a mail schedule for the free version. So rather than pay for it, we just do it individually and do our newsletters from there. Everything else goes out through the Google account. So it's a little bit of levels, but it helps keep it free and the costs down. So that is how we've been dealing with it. But if you need to go in and see who the people are, who members are, it is available in our contacts on Google, which you can access in our class email accounts. The other place is in the Google Drive. We do have a spreadsheet that has kept track of all of our current members, when they became members, and what their areas of interest are in class. So that would also be a good way to be able to see who's interested in particular activities of class.
I would mention this also, Kate, and to everyone else, if you come across somebody that you're talking to that would be interested to get involved with this, rather than just giving them our website and a way for them to contact us, maybe get their information and then contact one of, maybe one of the board members or executive team, so we can add that into there. Because like anything else, when you talk to somebody and they go, yeah, I think I'll visit the website, I'll sign myself up, that doesn't happen very often. So if we can be proactive to add to our database, I think that would be the best approach.
That's a good point, Scott. Yes,
Okay, anything else, Kate?
that's it.
The Chris, Lynn, and Katie, well, now Katie not being here, but any updates with the advocacy rewriting? Lynn, you mentioned that a little bit earlier, but not quite as specific as maybe you wanted to.
It's actually Caitlin and Sarah.
Oh, it is Sarah. Okay. I thought it was Chris,
Yeah, it is Chris.
Chris,
too.
yeah.
Lynn, and Sarah, not
I thought you
Katie.
said Katie. Yeah, okay.
I
Not
did
Katie.
say Katie because that's what's written on our agenda here, so we'll have to change that. Chris, Lynn,
Yeah, I
and
guess,
Sarah.
we've done, I think where we are at, Lynn, you comment, I think we should be bringing it to the next class board meeting. And let's review what we have redrafted and get your guys' input and kind of shake that out.
So it all went, I believe, I know that we did it email, like it went and then people made suggestions. So that level of, I'm just trying to remind myself of where we were at. So that happened, correct? After the three of
Yeah,
us?
that was a few months ago.
Right, that was like April, May. And then is that draft of with those comments somewhere? I know I don't have it. That's why I was wondering if
Well,
that.
wasn't it included in what we have done? Because it was the end of June that we,
Yeah. So
That-
if we, so it sounds like our next board meeting, would that be, I'm just trying to give this a process. So would it be, because people have laid eyes on it now, would we, the three of us, meet before the next board meeting? That's what I hear you saying, and then bring something back to actually respond to at that point?
well,
Are we refine, or what are we thinking?
well, aren't we ready to take this draft to, I think a verbal
We
watch
are.
is
Yeah.
better than just asking people for input
Agreed.
in the summertime.
That's what I was thinking too.
Sounds
Okay,
good to me.
and I don't know if we, us three or four, whoever it is, need to get together, that's fine, but I'm not sure.
I don't think we do if we've already sent it out and people gave feedback. I feel like we should like get it on the agenda for the next meeting and just make sure that it, like, as far as the process goes, are we just thinking the board would then create sort of a response to it, or what do we, I guess I'm not 100% on
I think what might be good with that, Lynn, just a suggestion, as your team is putting things and compiling it based on the input you got. come and present to the board, and maybe, we'll share the screen and you can walk us through the changes that you've made and ask our opinions there, and we can kind of do some things live.
Okay,
Much prefer that.
me too.
If the passive isn't working, so.
Right.
Yes, let's plan on that. So. Sounds good. And then
Okay,
we'll
we want to add that, the Chris, Lynn, and Sarah presentation for the next board meeting.
which will be on October 9th.
Yeah, how much time would you guys like to have? Do you think, we can always flex with it, but give us an idea up front so we maybe not put as much more on the agenda.
I think like 30 minutes,
Yeah, that's
Say 20 to
Fine.
30, yeah.
20 to 30 minutes.
And there's the delicate dance of writing. I find it really easy to write with 3 people, and
Mhm.
then with 9 people, it can get a little.
I don't want to wordsmith. So
So
we'll
it's
Yeah,
it's not where the comma goes. It's what are the concepts.
the content, not the,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Super.
thank you, John.
I appreciate that too.
The board that charged this team to go out and do some work. Let them do their work and let them come back and present, and our changes, unless it's something major that somebody sees. Let's let them present, and we can kind of be that seeing eye dog for maybe some subtleties, but
Well, or direction if it's totally gone off on some, because really whatever we sort of determine does, create space for representation of the whole. We don't want it to just be R3. Yeah.
A question I have for you guys, would it be more useful to give you the track edit version to see what was changed, or a clean version?
for me, the first, and I think if you sent it out ahead of time, ahead of the next board meeting, if we have that out on whether it's a week before, it's our responsibility to be diligent enough to be prepared for what you're going to present at our board meeting.
Okay,
And that way you can kind of see what it was, what it's proposed to be, and then discussions can happen at the board meeting.
Okay,
That's just my suggestion on that.
sounds good. The week of the August 1st, we'll send out a proposed and then the original.
Work for everybody?
October 1st. Mhm.
Good. Right. Any more old business, John, that you can think of that maybe wasn't listed here?
Well, I think we launched into a really great discussion of what we're doing next year. And so I'm loving that. Yeah, no, I'm feeling pretty good about what's going on. We have not had a ton of super detailed financial reports. Having our Kate here not bill us for a month makes it even better for me to rest assured that we've got enough money to keep the website up, and if necessary, buy snacks for face-to-face meetings. And so that's kind of where I'm at. We did sadly lose our contact at Alina was let go. So we got a donation from Alina, yay. And then the woman who facilitated that is gone, boo. So I don't know in terms of like future fundraising, how that's going to manage, but we've been able to get kind of the community foundation support at the level that keeps us chugging along. So.
Okay. Say, I've got to pause myself for just a moment. I'll be back. But in regards to new business, we've really discussed everything that was on our agenda earlier this meeting. So I'm not so certain that we have to, unless there's something else that comes up. But John, if you could maybe close us out, and I'll be back as soon as I can here. If I miss it, I just have a driver that's here that I need to speak with. And then if I miss you, good to see everybody. All right.
You too. I need to head out in the
Right.
next 5-10 too, so.
All right.
I'll try
Well,
to be right back.
I would like to take the opportunity to put Sarah on the spot and say, as we started out by saying welcome, and maybe if you can, do you have a little update on just what Trellis has been doing in the last little bit for a minute or three?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So I know I've met all of you, but Sarah Adams, I'm an Elder Care Development Partnership Coordinator at Trellis. And we've had a busy summer. We opened up an RFP for our Older Americans Act Title III dollars, which we administer as the Area Agency on Aging for the 7-county metro. And that closed in June. And so we've got a team that is very busy reviewing proposals for funding to begin in 2024. And then we have also been made aware that the Administration for Community Living, the ACL, is proposing some changes to Older Americans Act regulations. And there hasn't been a substantial update to those since 1988. There have been minor amendments throughout the years, but nothing really huge. And so the fact that they're opening up for public comment to make some significant changes in the coming years is really exciting. And so we have a few folks here who really love digging into that and have been doing so in order to make some public comments, and also just making sure that folks like yourselves are aware of that opportunity if that's something that's of interest to you. So I actually would love to just pop the link to that in the chat so that you all can go take a look at that for yourself. And then myself and Diane Graham Raff, and we have a new colleague, Bill Tiedemann. We are all age-friendly technical assistance grantees. And so we're supporting community grantees through that process who have been newly awarded those funds and just helping them to get their projects off the ground. So that's something that we're really excited about and have been actively participating in. And there's going to be an Age-Friendly Minnesota conference in September at the end of the month, which I would welcome you all to check out and participate if that is of interest to you. So that's my update on the fly.
There you
When
go.
will there be, that's awesome. It's Sarah, exciting stuff. When will
Yeah.
the kind of the notice on the age-friendly conference, is that going to come out soon?
So registration is already open. So if
Oh.
you click on that link, you can go right ahead and register.
Oh,
The
there we go.
first 2 days are virtual. And then the third day, which is a Friday, there's going to be an in-person convening. And so that should be a lot of fun. There will be a St. Paul location, and there will be locations across the state.
Oh,
Nice.
super.
Mhm.
Thank you. You guys are busy. Wow. Awesome. Gonna have to cut and paste all these guys. Don't close the Zoom meeting out. This is when I start to panic.
Yeah. Well, oh, do we all have the ability to save the chat? Save the chat. That's the 3 dots at the very bottom of the chat window.
Thanks for that reminder. I always just try to cut and paste everything.
Yep.
The 3 dots. Oh yeah, there we go. Save the chat. Aww. Super. Much more economical with my time.
Excellent. Well, so as we're coming up at and 59 minutes, I'm going to ask folks to give a the feedback. Somebody said once, if it's worth taking the time to meet together, it's worth reflecting on how it is. And so I don't know if we've done this, but if folks can check out with a 1 to 3 word, how are you feeling about our board meeting today? And Julia's on the phone. Very nice. So I'll not start with Julia. Allie, do you want to start?
I would say that I'm feeling content. I feel like we are at a good spot moving forward and just kind of moving to the next step.
Excellent. Kate, then Sarah.
I feel like we have hit our stride, and so now we get to do the work that maybe we've had to put on hold for quite some time.
Excellent. Sarah, then Chris.
I am feeling connected.
Oh, good.
So Chris,
Everybody-
then Lynn.
My thoughts.
That was your thought?
No, I'm just agreeing with what everybody has said. I don't think I have anything profound to add to that, so I'll be quiet.
All right, Lynn.
I'm having a full circle moment. I really honestly feel like we're right almost to where we were when class kind of went in the autopilot mode. So that's exciting for me. I'm excited for that.
Excellent. I'll go and then I'll tell Scott what we're doing. We're just doing a short checkout on how today's meeting went, Scott. I would say that, yeah, I am feeling like something has come around and clicked. And we're still hale and hearty, and we're ready to look at a little bit more, stepping back out into the world. Scott, your reflection on today's meeting.
Well, I would say when we planned this 2 weeks ago, John, Kate and I, a lot of times we kind of come into it blindly and go, what should we talk about other than the basics? So I would say the fact that we had input from other board members was fantastic. We left that open and would suggest that in future, if you think of something that you want to have put on the agenda, we are so wide open for that to happen. And that will help us kind of plan out what this agenda looks like. But we want your voices to be heard on that as well.
Excellent. All right.
Work.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Happy last weeks of summer.
That's right. Enjoy it heartily. Good to see everybody. Take care.